Howdy folks, I'd like to discuss a little topic again about Israel and the UN resolution in preventing Israel to build houses on the West Bank part of Jerusalem. I don't agree with the UN resolution, and I will tell you exactly why. It is like this, that in 18, and we have to go back a little in the history. Before in the 1800s, what we now know as Israel was one big desert. A few Arabs lived there, and a few Jewish people lived there. And in 1880, the Russian pogroms, they murdered a lot of Jewish people in Russia. Well, these Russian people, they fled from Russia via the Turkey. Via the ships of Turkey, via Tarsus, what we know as in the biblical name called Tarsus, and they fled to Israel. With the money they had, they were buying the land, the desert land actually. The desert lands, they bought it from the Arab people over there. And these Arab people are basically the grandfathers and the great-grandfathers of the Arab people right now. So the great grandfathers, they sold the desert land to the Jewish people. The Arabs and the Jews also, they were living there for about little less than 2,000 years, and it remained the desert for a big part of the time. The Jews bought the land and worked that land till it became fertile. And then the problems began, because the Arabs saw that, of course, and they became jealous and they wanted the land back. But in the meanwhile, the great grandfathers of the people, the Arab people that are living now there, they have already sold that land to the Jewish people. So it's Jewish ground. Then Israel was funded in 1948 after the Second World War, and then the troubles began. Israel has been attacked for many times in those days. The 14th of May in 1948, the state of Israel was erected. The 15th of May, the next day, they had a war from all surrounding Arab countries. Israel won the war. The same thing happened many times over, and one of these wars was the Six-Day War in 1967. And during that war, also Arab countries from all kinds of from Arab areas, they attacked Israel. It's not that Israel attacked them. No, these Arab countries attacked Israel. Yeah. So the Israelis logically defended their own bought and worked land. The land became fertile, and the Israelis protected their own possessions, like you would. Suppose that you have a car or a house, and your neighbor kicks you out of the house, you would fight back. Same story. So the Israelis did the same. They protected their own goods and houses and lands. And in the process, in the Six-Day War in 1967, they gained land due to the war. So the Arabs lost ground due to the war. That's what you have in a war. I mean, that happens also in the Second World War, when Holland gained or lost a little part of the country. And in many wars, borders are moved. To the gain or the loss of a country that loses or gains some land. The same happened with Israel, and so they obtained the West Bank, what we now know as the West Bank. So due to the war that the Arabs themselves started, they lost the West Bank. So the West Bank, where the Israeli people are building right now, is factually a war loss of the Arab countries. So it's Israeli right now. And they have the full right to build over there. It's Jewish property. They won it due to the war, that they not even started that war. And so it was a war gain. And so I don't understand this whole problem that the UN is making a resolution that Israel could not build their houses. I mean, it's Israeli property. It's won during the war. And yeah, that's what you have. If you start a war, especially against Israel, and most probably you will lose it, because God, as Zechariah 12, 13 and 14 prophesies, that God would fight as in the days of old, and that many nations will attack Israel. You can read it for yourself if you don't believe me. And that is exactly what's going on. God is fighting the war in favor of the Israeli people. That is what happened. Due to that, the Israelis gained the West Bank, and now it's in international dispute. Well, and it shouldn't. It should not be in an international dispute, because the Israelis, they have fought over it. Just like the Sinai, they gave back the Sinai, but that was just for the good-willing, from the good-willing point of view of the Israelis. They should not have given it back to Sinai. But they give it back. They chose to give it back. In my opinion, they shouldn't have. But okay, the Gaza Strip, they gave it. They gave also that to the people, the Arab people, who call themselves Palestine, because Palestine, there was no such independent government that is called Palestine. So where that term comes from, I don't know. So there is no people of Palestine. There is never been a country of Palestine. So the people should stay off of the West Bank. It's Israeli, and the Israeli, from my point of view and from the historical point of view, they could build whatever they like. That's the Israeli thing, and the rest of the international community should stay away from that. This is Israeli grounds, and people should stay off of it. It's Israeli property, folks, and if you want to keep your land, don't start a war against Israel, because God, the God of Israel, the creator of this universe, let me say, God is the God of Israel, and God, the God of Israel, is the creator of this universe. So he is the boss around this place, yeah, in this entire universe. So if God wants to give Israel that ground, then God gives that ground to Israel. And so you better stay off. If you're fighting against Israel, you're actually fighting against God, the creator of this universe, and you will always lose. So sorry, folks, that's the reality. We've seen that many times over. Every war that the Arabs started is the war that the Arabs lost, and they lost ground, they lost people in ratios that the losses of Israel are always minimum, and the losses of the attacking countries are always bigger. So whoever starts a war against Israel will always lose. Why? Because God is fighting those wars. Actually, basically what you see here, it's God against the devil, and the devil is nothing more than a creation, and God is the creator. So the devil will always lose. And so that's the whole story about it. I mean, stay away from it. I mean, God prophesied it in Zechariah 12, 13 and 14. And so basically Israel is, and the West Bank is Israeli property. Stay off of it. This is what I want to share. Of course, many people will not agree with me. They will give me negative comments and thumbs down and stuff like that. Listen, folks, I don't care. God doesn't care. I mean, God, it doesn't help. I mean, you can be negative in comments. I don't care. This is reality. This is what you see happening in history. And this history is written down in the Bible, in the Old and the New Testament, and it's coming true in front of your eyes. So if you don't believe me, read the Bible, and it's all prophesied over there. And what is standing there, it's coming reality in front of your own face. Don't believe me? Read the Bible. Okay, and ask God about it. God, the God of the Bible, the God of Israel. The creator of this universe is the God of Israel. Yeah, that's who he is. Okay, thanks for watching. This is what I want to share, and see you next time. Hasta la vista. Bye bye.